What if the biggest threat to your health,
Isn't what you eat,
or how much you exercise?
but how much you sit.
Think of it this way. Your body is like a machine designed to stay in motion.
Leave a car unused in a garage for months and parts start to rust, your body works the same way.
Right now, we're not moving too much. We're barely moving at all.
Today, we're unpacking the silent biological mismatch between your body and the modern chair.
Welcome back to a new episode of Behind the Facts. I'm Maya.
And I'm Alex.
In this episode, we're going to explore exactly why our sedentary lifestyles are completely at odds with our biology. It is a deep dive into something we all do every single day.
Yeah, we have a massive stack of research today that, frankly, makes me want to stand up for the rest of this conversation.
We're looking at the collision between human biology and, well, furniture.
Which sounds so incredibly mundane when you frame it like that. I mean, the chair is just a thing we sit on. Right. But when you actually dig into the physiological data, that chair starts to look less like a piece of furniture and more like a health hazard.
A health hazard. I mean, that feels a little dramatic. I'm sitting right now. You listening to this are probably sitting right now, and it feels fine. Comfortable even.
And that comfort is exactly the trap. We aren't just talking about back pain here or having bad posture.
Which is usually what people think of, right? Like, oh, I need to sit up straight.
Exactly. But this is about a fundamental biological mismatch. The research we have today suggests that your body, at a cellular level, actively panics when you sit for too long.
Okay, so before we get into this cellular panic, which sounds terrifying, by the way, let's zoom out a bit. Part one, the evolutionary design. Why is sitting for hours historically abnormal? Humans have been sitting around fires for thousands of years.
We have, sure. But we really need to look at the larger timeline. Think about the last 2 million years of human evolution. For like 99.9% of that time, human survival was completely dependent on movement.
We have a unique, super high-energy metabolic engine compared to other primates, right?
Yes, exactly. We evolved to hunt, to gather, to just constantly be on the move.
We're the endurance runners of the animal kingdom. We literally outlast the gazelle.
We do. But here is the nuance that usually gets glossed over. It's not just that we stopped moving in the modern world, it's that we actually started resting wrong.
Resting wrong. How on earth can you rest wrong? Rest is it's just not moving.
You would definitely think so. But there's a fascinating concept in the literature called the inactivity mismatch hypothesis. It basically suggests that while our bodies are perfectly fine with resting, they are completely unequipped for the type of rest we do today.
Okay, unpack that for me. What is the right way to rest?
Well, the sources point to the Hadza people in Tanzania. They are modern hunter-gatherers, and researchers study them heavily because their lifestyle mirrors our ancestral past pretty closely. So if I asked you to picture a hunter-gatherer's day, what do you see?
I see someone running with a spear, chasing an antelope through the brush, just constantly moving.
That's the classic assumption. But here is the twist in the data. Researchers actually tracked their movement, and they found that the Hadza rest for about the same amount of time as a modern office worker.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, roughly 9.9 hours a day of resting.
Almost 10 hours. That's basically a full workday plus a Netflix binge on the couch. So what, they're lazy too.
Not lazy, just highly efficient. But, and this is the massive differentiator, despite all that resting time, they have almost zero heart disease, no diabetes, barely any metabolic disorders at all.
Okay, hold on. If they rest as much as we do, but we're getting sick from it and they aren't, what is the variable? Are we just eating worse?
Diet plays a role, obviously. But in this specific context, it's all about the posture. When the Hadza rest, they don't sit in ergonomic office chairs. They don't recline in lazy-boys.
They sit on the ground.
They sit on the ground. They squat. They kneel. These are what the researchers call active rest postures.
Active rest? That feels like a total oxymoron.
Think about it physically. If you are in a really deep squat, are your legs relaxed?
No. I mean, I can hold a squat, but my legs are definitely working. My core is engaged, just trying to keep me from falling backwards.
Exactly. Even though you aren't moving through space, your muscles, specifically the soleus in the calf, your quads, your back muscles, they have to stay engaged to keep you balanced. There is this low-level, constant electrical activity happening in the muscle fibers.
Whereas when I flop into my fancy desk chair...
Complete muscular silence.
Wow.
The chair acts like a cast. It supports your skeleton entirely, so your muscles don't have to do a single thing. They just shut off.
Muscular silence. I really don't like the sound of that. It sounds like my body has just gone offline.
That is quite literally what happens. It's not the resting that hurts us. It's the support. The chair is a technology that allows us to switch off gravity, and our bodies never evolved a biological defense against that.
Okay, so we've established that the chair is basically a full body cast that we voluntarily strap ourselves into for 8 to 10 hours a day. Let's move into part two. What happens inside your body when you sit? The metabolic, vascular, and muscular shutdown.
Yeah, and the effects are surprisingly fast. We aren't talking about years of chronic sitting here. We're talking about what happens within 1 to 3 hours of hitting the chair.
That fast. So literally just a morning block of meetings.
Easily. The first major hit is vascular. It's essentially a plumbing issue.
A plumbing issue. Got it.
So when you sit, your legs are bent, and gravity is pulling your blood down toward the floor. Now, normally when you walk around, your calf muscles act like a second heart. Every time you take a step, that muscle squeezes the veins and forcibly shoots blood back up to your chest.
The calf muscle pump. I've seen that in the notes.
Right. But in a chair, that pump stops dead. So blood just starts to pool in the legs. And this leads to a massive drop in a critical mechanical force called shear stress.
Shear stress. That sounds like something that happens to an airplane wing before it snaps. What is it doing in the body?
In the body, it's actually a really good thing. Shear stress is simply the friction of your blood flowing against the vessel walls. Imagine a fast-moving river. It scrubs the riverbanks, keeps them totally clean.
Right. It doesn't let algae or debris build up.
Exactly. That friction is a biological signal. It stimulates the cells lining your arteries to produce a molecule called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It keeps the pipes open, keeps the arteries flexible and super healthy.
So flow equals friction, and friction equals healthy, open arteries.
Precisely. But when you sit, the flow slows to a crawl. The scrubbing stops, shear stress plummets, and the result, flow-mediated dilation, which is basically the ability of your arteries to widen and adapt, drops by over 50% in the legs after just a couple of hours.
50%? That is a massive drop in function just from checking emails at my desk.
It is. And it actually gets worse. We have to talk about the metabolic crash. This is where the research gets really interesting and honestly a little scary.
You're talking about lipoprotein?
Yeah.
Lipase. Oh, LPL.
Yes, LBL.
I read about this in the deep dive prep. They call it the vacuum cleaner enzyme.
That's the absolute best way to picture it. LPL sits on the walls of your blood vessels, mostly in your muscles. And its entire job is to grab fat triglycerides straight out of your bloodstream and suck them into the muscle to be burned as fuel. It literally cleans your blood.
Okay, so it's the janitor of the bloodstream.
It's the janitor.
Yeah.
But here's the catch. LPL is only active when the muscle itself is active.
Oh, no. I see where this is going.
Yeah. When you sit in a chair and your muscles go into that muscular silence, LPL activity doesn't just dip a little, it crashes entirely. We're talking a drop of nearly 90%.
90%. So the janitor basically just went on strike.
The janitor went home. So now you eat a sandwich for lunch, the fat enters your bloodstream, but the vacuum cleaner is unplugged. So where does that fat go?
It just stays in the blood.
It just floats around. It eventually gets stored as visceral fat. It clogs arteries. Your good cholesterol drops because it's not being produced. Your insulin effectiveness just completely tanks.
It's literally like kinking a garden hose.
Yeah.
The flow of metabolic health just stops almost instantly.
Exactly. And that stagnation leads to an immediate risk of clots. You've probably heard of deep vein thrombosis.
Yeah, usually associated with super long flights. The economy class syndrome.
Well, there's a new term popping up in the research now. E-thrombosis.
E-thrombosis, like electronic thrombosis.
Yeah, it's blood clots formed specifically from prolonged computer use. The data shows that the risk of venous thromboembolism increases by roughly 10% for every single additional hour of sitting.
Every hour. That adds up incredibly fast. If someone pulls a 10-hour shift at a desk...
They are statistically significantly increasing their risk of a blood clot, yes.
Okay, stop. Stop, because I know exactly what you listening to this are thinking right now, because it's what I am thinking right now. This is terrifying, but it doesn't apply to me.
And why wouldn't it apply to you?
Because I go to the gym. I do my 45 minutes on the Peloton. I lift weights. I'm active. So surely that 1 hour of intense exercise cancels out the chair, right? Welcome to part 3, the exercise myth.
The active couch potato paradox.
Is that a real scientific term? Active couch potato?
It is actually in the literature. And honestly, this is the part of the deep dive that shocked me the most. We tend to think of our health as this simple accounting equation, right? Calories in, calories burned, bad sitting, good running.
Right. I sit all day, so I just need to pay off the debt with a run later.
But the biology completely disagrees. The sources make a really clear, distinct line here. Inactivity physiology is completely distinct from exercise physiology.
Wait, say that again? They are entirely different biological systems.
Completely different systems. You can be super fit, you can have an elite VO2 max, you can run a marathon on the weekends, and still suffer the exact same metabolic consequences of sitting for the other 15 waking hours of your day.
That feels so incredibly unfair. I put in the work at the gym.
Think of it this way. Imagine exercise is a vitamin. It's really good for you. You take your vitamin C every single morning.
Okay, I'm taking my vitamin.
Now imagine sitting is a toxin, like smoking.
Oof. Okay, harsh, but go on.
Taking a healthy vitamin in the morning does absolutely nothing to neutralize the fact that you are chain smoking for the rest of the day. They are independent variables. The vitamin helps, sure. It is much better than not taking it. But it does not undo the steady, hours-long drip of the toxin.
So the heavy lifting I did this morning, it didn't turn the LPL vacuum cleaner back on for the rest of the day.
It turned it on for the hour you were lifting. And maybe you got a bit of an afterburn. But the very second you sat down at your desk at 9 a.m. and didn't move until noon, the vacuum shut off. The blood pooled. The damage resumed.
Is there any amount of exercise that actually fixes it? Let's look at the Eklund analysis from our sources.
Yes. Eklund and his team looked exactly at this offset calculation. They wanted to know how much movement it takes to actually eliminate the increased mortality risk of high sitting time, which is 8+ hours a day.
And the number is staggering. You need 60 to 75 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity every single day.
Every day. And that's not a casual stroll with a dog. That is vigorous, heart-pumping, sweating.
And most people aren't doing anywhere near that. The standard medical recommendation is what, 30 minutes of moderate exercise?
5 days a week, yeah. So for the vast majority of the population, even those who proudly consider themselves active, the risk of sitting remains incredibly high. You just cannot outrun a sedentary lifestyle if you spend the other 90% of your day completely motionless.
That is a very harsh reality check. It means the gym rat office worker really isn't as safe as they think.
Not at all. And honestly, we haven't even talked about the brain yet.
Oh, the brain. Yes. Part 4, the cognitive cost. Because I feel this one personally. You know that specific feeling at 3 p.m. You've been sitting all day, your body hasn't done anything physically exhausting, you haven't dug a ditch, but your brain just feels like absolute mush.
The sedentary cognitive paradox.
Yeah.
The body rests, but the brain fogs.
Why does that happen? I'm just sitting there. If anything, I should have plenty of energy reserved for thinking.
It goes right back to the plumbing issue we talked about earlier. Cerebral blood flow.
It's a blood flow issue again.
Everything in the body is a blood flow issue. Remember, the heart pumps harder when you move. When you sit and that blood pools down in your legs due to gravity, your overall systemic circulation slows down. Less blood flow system-wide means less oxygen and less glucose are making it up to the brain.
So when I'm staring blankly at my computer screen trying to write an email and I literally cannot find the words, it's because my brain is actually being underfueled.
Essentially, yes. And we can measure this in a lab. The research shows that after just 3 hours of uninterrupted sitting, decision-making demonstrably slows down. They use something called the Stroop test to measure reaction times, and people get measurably slower and make more errors.
So I am actively getting stupider the longer I sit in my chair.
Stupider, slower, and potentially sadder.
Sadder. Wait, mood is affected too.
There is a massive mental health connection here. It ties right back into inflammation. When you're sedentary for long periods, inflammatory markers in your body like IL-6 start to rise, and these markers can cross the blood-brain barrier.
When inflammation hits the brain,
It's linked to neuroinflammation, which is heavily associated with depression, anxiety, and that pervasive brain fog.
it's wild to think about. That mid-afternoon slump isn't just boredom. We usually treat a lack of focus like it's a character flaw. Like, oh, I just need to concentrate harder, or I need another cup of coffee.
Right, we blame ourselves. But you aren't fighting a lack of discipline. You are fighting your own biology. You're trying to run a high-performance engine in your brain with a fuel line that is basically kinked.
And the scary part isn't just the afternoon slump, it's the long-term data. The sources mention structural changes to the brain.
Yeah, this is the part that gave me pause. Research actually links sitting for more than 10 hours a day to the physical thinning of the medial temporal lobe.
And that's a critical area for memory, right?
It is. So we are potentially talking about accelerating cognitive decline simply by being stationary.
Okay. We've covered the muscle shutting down, the blood pooling, the heart risks, and the brain physically thinning. I am officially ready to burn my office chair in the parking lot. But, and here is part 5, the modern mismatch. We live in the real world. I have a job. You have a job. You listening probably have a job that requires staring at a computer. This feels like a trap we can't escape. Office culture actually amplifies the problem.
It is the defining biological conflict of our modern time, and it is actively reshaping our anatomy. We have to briefly touch on adaptive shortening.
Adaptive shortening, is this why I can't touch my toes anymore?
Highly likely.
Huh.
Your body is incredibly plastic. It constantly adapts to the position it spends the most time in. If you sit for 10 hours a day, your hip flexors are permanently bent at a 90-degree angle. Over time, the tissue actually shortens. They get tight, they pull down on your pelvis.
Which perfectly explains the epidemic of lower back pain.
Exactly. And meanwhile, your glutes, your butt muscles are doing absolutely nothing. They are just a cushion, so they atrophy. There's a medical condition literally called gluteal amnesia.
Gluteal amnesia. Your butt forgets how to be a butt.
Basically, yeah. It forgets how to fire. The neural connection from your brain to the muscle weakens because you never use it. So we are literally reshaping our human anatomy to fit the shape of the chair. We are becoming chair-shaped humans.
Okay, I'm sufficiently terrified. I'm looking at my desk chair right now like it's an electric chair. But please tell me there is a solution here that does not involve quitting my job and moving into the forest to squat by a campfire.
There is good news. You don't have to live in the woods. The solution is actually surprisingly simple, and it comes back to that active couch potato idea. We just need to stop thinking about exercise and start thinking about movement.
What's the practical difference?
Exercise is an event. You do it for an hour and you're done. Movement is a lifestyle. The research points to something called the fidget factor.
Fidgeting, like tapping your foot, the exact thing my teachers used to yell at me for in school.
Yes, total vindication for the fidgeters. Studies show that high fidgeters, people who are constantly shifting their weight, tapping their feet, moving their legs around under the desk, they have significantly lower mortality risks than people who sit perfectly still.
So being restless is actually a biological survival trait.
It is. Those tiny micro movements are just enough to maintain that sheer stress we talked about. It keeps the blood moving just enough to keep the LPL vacuum cleaner engaging intermittently. It prevents the entire metabolic system from completely shutting down.
So step 1, be annoying, tap my feet, shake my legs during meetings.
Step 1, be dynamic. Step 2 is the actual protocol. The research strongly suggests you need to break the cycle frequently.
How frequently are we talking?
Every 20 to 30 minutes.
That seems really frequent. If I'm in a state of deep work, breaking my focus every 20 minutes is tough.
It is a mental shift, but it doesn't have to be a full workout. We aren't saying you need to drop and do 50 push-ups. Just stand up. Stand up for 2 minutes. Walk to the kitchen. Get a glass of water. Pace while you take a phone call. Even that brief interruption is enough to reset the vascular system, restore blood flow to the brain, and improve insulin sensitivity.
It's like shaking the mouse to keep the computer screen from going to sleep.
That is the perfect analogy. You just need to keep the biological system awake.
What about standing desks? Everyone has a standing desk now. Is that the ultimate answer?
Standing is definitely better than sitting, absolutely.
Okay.
But, and this is really big, but static standing has its own set of risks. If you just lock your knees and stand there like a statue for 4 hours, you can still get blood pooling, you can get varicose veins, you put stress on your lower back.
So it's not necessarily about the position itself, it's about the change of position.
Frequency over intensity. The best posture is always your next posture.
And what about when we finally get home? The sacred Netflix time on the couch.
This is where we can really learn from the Hadza people. Try to implement active rest.
Give me a practical example of that. How do I actively rest while watching a movie?
Sit on the floor.
On the floor, like a child.
Yes, exactly like a child. When you sit on the floor, you are naturally slightly uncomfortable. You shift your weight. You stretch your legs out. You lean on one arm, then you switch to the other. You are constantly micro-adjusting your posture.
So you're engaging your core and your hips without even realizing it.
Exactly. That is active rest.
So ditch the incredibly expensive couch, hit the living room rug.
Or at least alternate between them. Stretch while you watch TV. Just don't let your muscles go into that complete cast-like silence for hours on end.
This has been a massive reality check. I think I'm literally going to set a timer on my phone right now for 20 minutes.
I highly recommend it. I do it myself.
Before we wrap up, I really want to leave you, the listener, with this final thought because we've covered a lot of heavy biology today. The real problem with sitting isn't just posture.
It's what happens quietly inside your body when movement disappears.
Behind every modern comfort is a biology that still expects motion.
And when stillness becomes the default, your health slowly becomes constrained.
Because in the end, your body wasn't built for efficiency.
It was built for movement.
That's all for today's episode.
If you enjoyed this one, take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who'd enjoy it too.